So I was walking through the library not long ago and I got lost in the section and I ended up in the congressional records. So I was looking around for a little bit because it was pretty interesting and I ended up coming across this document. It was a Senate report on the disclosure of corporate ownership. Back in 1974, the Senate report on detailed financial information officially referred to the banks as the top of the pyramid. And made specific reference to Chase Manhattan and First National City Bank, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Mellon Bank, but it really named a host of the top 32 institutional investors with assets of $5 billion or more, again in 1972 dollars. They found a pattern of broad and significant investment and ownership of companies and a lack of transparency. They found banks holding shares the owner was not properly named. They had limitations on how much banks were supposed to be able to own of these companies, but in 1972 the commission raised the ownership limitations from 1% to 5% because so many banks were in violation of that. If they were to force them to comply with it, it would have cost the economy almost $1 billion, so they obviously didn't. Bank voting power is increasing in a broad range of companies: airlines, drugs, electrical equipment,
insurance, machinery, food, chemicals, aerospace, building conglomerates, and finance itself.
Congress itself has all but admitted in this report they can hardly keep this in check, and they refer to things like the multiple levers of control. Control is presumed. The nominees hide owners. And they warn about the effect of concentration of power of the banks over the entire economy again. But at the end of the day, the top of the pyramid is untouchable. This is the priest class of our country.
There is no America. There is no democracy. There is only IBM and ITT and AT&T and DuPont, Dow, Union Carbide, and Exxon. Those are the nations of the world today.
Today, you see how concentrated things are. And these banks, the top 8 banks, Chase Manhattan chief among them, they have voting rights. Chase has 14% in RCA. Chase has
14% in Columbia Broadcasting, CBS, nearly 5% in RCA, which is the parent company of NBC. Bankers Trust has 10% in ABC.
Just 11 banks in 1974 had voting rights to 38% of the common stock just of CBS. Just 8 banks had voting rights for 34% in ABC. Major holdings that could swing decisions. Today we know that there's just 5 or maybe 6 major media companies who own all of the corporate dominated media, hundreds of subsidiaries, radio stations. And you look back to the 70s report, how extensively the major banks on Wall Street were financing these companies. It's no wonder that they had an agenda. And you could see who was running society and who was invested in the messages that were being put out to consumer society, the things to buy, how they were supposed to act, regard authority, who their role models were going to be. Just think of the ideological influence and what it means. Chase Manhattan, more than 6 million shares in GE, more than 3 million shares of RCA and Westinghouse, more than 2 million CBS. Corporate ownership really dominating the entire country. As they said it plainly, the top of the pyramid.